Excellent. Well, hey, thanks so much, everybody, for being with us here today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can all follow along with what we're going to be exploring here today. Let me go ahead and pull that up, give that a moment to pop up on the screen there. Excellent. There we go. And I'll get my chat open up again here so I can follow along as we have some discussions throughout the session. So again, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be learning with you guys here tonight. This is a session dealing with AI in education. I do have a resource document, and I would encourage you to open that if you're able to now. If you're not, if you're just able to listen at the moment, maybe jot down or take note of the address. And then in the future, you can pull this up. It's bit.ly/Curts-AI. That link will get you to a document, and I'll just go ahead and copy that link and drop it right into the chat for those that are in the chat here with us, if that makes it easier. But I know some folks may be watching the recording later, or again, maybe you can't quite pull it up at the moment. If you're not able to, that's okay. Just take note of that, bit.ly/Curts-AI. That'll get you to a document. And normally, I do have a document with any session I do. I'll let you know this one's definitely a work in progress because AI is such a dynamic field right now. There are so many things that are changing. So this is a document you'll probably want to come back to in the future, and it will probably look pretty different. This is the current form of it right now. In this document, of course, you've got my contact info at the top, and then there's sections on just a general overview of AI, and then some collections of tools like AI for speech, AI for music, AI for images and art would fit into that, AI for language, and then a section on using AI in education. Lots and lots and lots of different ideas on how we could use AI as teachers or as students as well. And then a section near the end on the potential concerns around AI as well, and how we can think about adapting what we do in our schools to address potential misuse of a new technology like this. So a lot of content in there, but again, like I said, I guarantee you come back in 6 months and this document's going to look pretty different because this is a field that is constantly evolving right now. While you take a moment to pull that up, very, very quick introduction. So, hi, everybody. My name's Eric, educator in Northeast Ohio. This is year 31 for me. My day job is as a tech coach for my schools here in Northeast Ohio. And then on the side, I run the website Control Alt Achieve, and I share out loads and loads of ed tech resources through there, social media, YouTube. I've got a weekly newsletter you can sign up for. I've got an email discussion group you can be a part of. I do a weekly live stream on Monday nights with my EdTech links of the week. And of course, I've got my Control Alt Achieve book. All of those things can, of course, be found at the top of all of my agenda documents. So you don't have to worry about jotting any of that down. If you get to the agenda document, at the top, you'll see my contact info. Whatever way works for you to connect with me, please take advantage of these links that are here, and that will let you stay plugged in to all the things that I'm doing. Now, tonight, what we're going to be talking about, like I said, is AI, but because I know this group is more of an arts group, I'm going to certainly pick certain pieces of this that I think are more relevant. And so my plan is I'm going to do it this way tonight. And again, this is probably a session that will never be the same twice because again, the tools evolve so quickly. I'm going to start off with just a very brief overview of AI. And then we'll talk about some tools, and we'll do them in a couple of areas. I'd say music, images, and language. We can chat about those main areas because I think that would cross over well with a lot of the folks that we have here tonight. And then I'd really like to spend a good chunk of time here on the practical uses. So we may know, okay, so we've got these tools. How can we use them? What can we do in our classroom with these tools? And so that's my plan for the time that we have together. But, as we go here, please use the chat or please unmute and give me a holler. I want to hear from you because I want to make sure that I am addressing your interests and your needs. All right. So that's the plan. And again, one last time, if you didn't get the link yet, bit.ly/Curts-AI. AI. And I can drop that once again in the chat if anybody still needs to get to that resource document. So let's go ahead and get started with just very, very quickly a little overview of AI. And so when we're talking about AI here, what we're talking about is any sort of computer system that basically is mimicking what a human typically would be required to do. So it can be understanding language. It can be being able to look at an image and know what that is a picture of, being able to hear spoken words and decipher them and understand what those words are, being able to solve problems, make predictions, being able to generate new content. A lot of that stuff that normally we would associate with a person, a human needing to do, computer systems now are getting to a point where they can mimic many of the things that we can do. A big area that has got a lot of attention, though, is generative AI. This has really been what has caught folks' imaginations and their attention. ChatGPT came out back in November, December of last year, and I think that's what really got it on the map for a lot of folks. I was already really getting excited about this with some of the art AI tools that came out even before that, things like Dolly and Midjourney and some of these other ones. But then when ChatGPT hit, this really got people's attention. And so what we're talking about with generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that actually is making content. It's creating things. And so it might be making text, it may be creating images, it might be creating music, it may be creating code. And basically it's doing this by just taking a massive amount of training data. Like it's been exposed to just, trillions of pieces of information that it has used as its training data. And then we give it a prompt. Now, that's an important thing. There's a skill to that. And I think that's going to be one of those technology skills that in the coming months and years is something we never maybe even thought we'd be teaching. Can you make a good prompt? And that's really something we're going to be working more and more on in the near future. You give it a prompt, and from that prompt, it is going to generate what you're asking for. And of course, crafting that prompt well is going to help out. Is in education, my goodness, there's a lot we can do with this. This is can be such a wonderful assistant to come alongside of us, to help us create personalized learning materials for our students, to be able to generate practice questions, to provide feedback to our students, to explain topics at any level, and on and on and on and on. So many possibilities here. Now, having said that, I also want to say, please keep in mind, this is a new technology. So it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to get everything right. We are at the onset of this. This is the worst it's ever going to be. It's just going to get better and more refined from here. So be aware. You might get incorrect information now and then. You might get things that are biased. We need to be able to evaluate now more than ever, and going forward. Our students need to evaluate, verify the content. It may be stated in a way that seems very confident, but we still need to make sure that we are verifying that information. Okay, so there you go. That is the introduction. That's the overview. That's the main idea of what we're looking at here with AI. Let's go ahead and start chatting a little bit about, so what's this look like? What are some ways we have seen this? And like I said, we're going to dive into actual examples. We'll do these, but I'm just going to rip through these real quick. I'm going to jump up to, let's do this. Let's jump up to AI for music real quick. And again, I'm just going to run through these real quick. Then we'll come back and actually start trying these out. Just going to give you the big picture idea. So for example, there are tools where AI can assist us with music. We have things like Google's assisted melody, where you can play a tune, and then basically they've trained the AI on everything that Bach, Mozart, and Beethoven had ever created. And they say, well, if Bach was alive today and you played that, here is what Bach may play along with you, and it will create a duet. And so you have an assisted melody from the AI there. Then there's tools like the Freddie meter, where you can sing one of Queen's songs and the AI will evaluate your voice to see on 3 different levels: pitch, melody, and timbre, how well you sound. And this 61% I did score that 61%. I'm not going to do it today, but I did do that. And then most recently, Google has announced Music LM, which is their music language model. And basically, it allows you to do text to music. So basically, you type up a text description of what you're looking for, and it will then create music that matches that. Now, again, this is really in the early stages here. These first two tools, you can do these right now. We can start it. We can do assisted melody and Freddie Meter. Those, they're available to anybody. This one's not yet. The Music LM, we can pull up the website and we can look at things that have been created with it. We're not able to do it ourselves yet. This is one that is still just with the researchers and the people that are testing it out, but we can pull it up and listen to some of the things that they have created. So we can dive into some of those tools. We can look at those and take those for a spin. Along the same lines, music and art. We could put art definitely in the image category here. There's a lot of AI tools that relate to images. And again, we can dive into any of these that we want to take a look at. Let me just give you the quick overview. First of all, we've got things here like, we'll jump into things like auto draw. So this one's been around for a while. This is not a new one, but this is AI. Basically, the idea that this is a drawing tool from Google where you can, freehand draw something, but after you draw it, the AI will try to guess what it is you're drawing and then offer suggestions for images that could replace your drawing. So in this case, this dog, once it loops again, you'll see there was my very rudimentary dog that I drew, but it was enough for the AI to be like, is that a cow? Is that a dog? And then it can replace my image with that. Then there's tools like Chimera Painter, where a user can use these different colors to draw a fantastic creature. And then the AI will recognize, oh, this purple is a wing and the red is for the head and the tail is supposed to be this beige color. And then it generates a somewhat photorealistic version based off of what you created. There's tools like Scroobly for digital animation, where you can draw a creature on a wireframe, and then you can use your own body to move inside of the camera, and the creature will animate based upon your motions. So you can do digital animation with your own body there. Now, where it really took off with images was text to image. Google was one of the first ones doing a lot with their Imagen tool, where basically you just type up a description, kind of like the music one, type up a description and it makes the music, type up a description and it makes an image. You say, I want, well, let's see, these are going by so fast here because I did it as a animated GIF, but a raccoon wearing an astronaut helmet. There you go. And it went by really fast. Or a giant cobra made of corn. And then it makes that image. Well, a lot of other companies, a lot of other organizations have done the same, like OpenAI, the folks who do ChatGPT, they created DALL-E. And DALL-E 2 was the most recent one that got a lot of attention, where again, same idea. You put in a description of what you want, and it generates that image. And you can not just, describe the content of it, but also the style. I want it to be, hand drawn. I want it to be oil paints. I want it to be, surrealistic, or whatever the case might be. And we can do these. So like, if you want to try these out, I've got access to DALL-E 2. Anybody can have access to it. Imagen, I don't have access to that yet. That one is still in the researchers' hands, but we can do DALL-E. I've got it up on another screen and I can pull it over and we can take it for a spin and generate some things. Bing from Microsoft has taken DALL-E and they've made a version of that works inside of their Bing image creator tool. Now that one is available to everybody as well, but you do have to sign up for it. I do have access to that. So if we want to jump over to Bing Image Create, same thing. We can describe an image and we can create something from that. So I can demonstrate those for you. Another one I can demonstrate is Canva. Canva added their text to image tool a while back, where while you're creating a document or a slideshow or an image or a poster or whatever, you can describe what you want and it can generate some images. So I like to write poetry for my grandkids, and I have a poem that I had written about a rainbow cow, and I could not find any imagery of a rainbow cow. So I described what I wanted and it made rainbow cows, and I made a book, I made a flip book out of that by having it can't work with me on creating those images. And then Adobe has just announced their Firefly. I do not have access to this. I do have access to Canva, Bing, and Dolly. So we can look at all of those. Adobe, I don't have access to that one yet. I've heard a few people have pilot access to it. And basically, same idea, but a little bit of a difference here. What Adobe is doing is absolutely, yes, you can go in and you can describe the thing you're looking for and it can just create it for you. But the way I've seen it with what Adobe has shown is it's a lot more of using AI inside of a project you're doing, not just saying, here's what I want, create the whole thing for me. But actually you create a project and then the AI helps you with different portions of it. You grab a portion of the project, say, I just want to change this mountain here. I just want to add this one thing here. And it's like a co-painter with you, a co-artist with you, and it's working hand in hand with you. So, and then the last section that we can dive into, and of course, we can do more than this, but these are the ones that I thought would probably hit us best here today, would be AI tools for language. And this applies to everybody. It does not matter if you're, music, if you're theater, if you're art, if you're math, science, language arts, social studies, does not matter. This applies to everybody. Now, certainly there's a lot of AI tools that we've seen with language, things like Gmail Smart Reply and the Smart Compose feature and Google Translate. So we've seen all of those. But again, the generative AI, boom, this is what has really caught everybody's attention. So ChatGPT is a really good example of this. We can go to ChatGPT. It's a generative AI chatbot, and we can just ask it a question. We can basically type anything in that we want and just have a conversation with it. And it can generate so much content for us, whether it's a lesson plan or a rubric or an assessment, a set of assessment questions, so many possibilities there. Now, ChatGPT was one of the first ones out of the gate, but there's so many more out there. So Bing from Microsoft, they've taken a version of ChatGPT and they have embedded that into Bing search. I have access to ChatGPT. I've got access to Bing as well. And then Google has done the same thing. They have Bard, which is their chatbot, and I have access to Bard. I've got access to all of these, so we can pull up every one of them and we can try them all out and see what they're all like there. And not only are these standalone, like you can just go to ChatGPT, you can just go to Bing Chat, you can just go to, Bard. Microsoft and Google are also baking them into their products. And so, for example, with Microsoft, I can also go to the Edge browser and I can just open up a ChatGPT Bing version panel on the side. And while I'm on a website, I can ask it questions about that web page, or I can have it assist me with summarizing the article or helping me write things based upon it. And then Google's doing the same thing. Google is baking in all of the tools. Here we've got a little video, but I'll skip over that. Well, I guess no, we'll go ahead and play the video. It's a good one. It's really, 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 really quick. This just shows you how Google is going to take the Bard AI and weave it into all of their different ones. So I'll play it real quick here. Hopefully it comes through okay for you. The audio is not necessary. I can turn off the audio. And so basically what you're going to see here is you're going to talk about how in the past we've been able to collaborate with each other, but now we're going to be able to collaborate with AI. And it starts showing some of the things they're going to do as far as putting it into their products. So like, let's say it's in Gmail, say, catch me up on this whole Gmail conversation. It'll read through all the messages in that conversation and go, oh, here's basically what's happening here. And boom, it'll give you the, overview of what's going on. Or we could have things like, and of course, and then compose a reply, and boom, it's going to help you compose your reply. Or, write a brief based on these emails. Here's a bunch of emails. Go ahead and create a Google document that, sums up what it is we're trying to do. Or make it more whimsical, and it'll rewrite that for you as you go through. How about building a presentation? Now, this is more business oriented, but you can apply it to anything. It's building a Google slideshow. Now, how about this? Creating images. There you go. There's the image, and create an image of miniature magical gardens. It's creating those images, and you can can drop them right into your slideshow. So that's Google Imagen put into there, or capturing notes during a Google Meet. So while the meet's going on, the AI is listening, personalizing messages for people inside of a spreadsheet. So everybody gets their own individual email merge sent out specifically for them, and on and on and on. So you're seeing, drafting a thank you note, and then again, deciding if you want to make it longer or shorter or more formalized or whatever the case might be. So this is just a really quick one to show you some of the things that are coming. So far, they've only rolled out 2 of them to the trusted testers, as they call them. We now have Bard AI inside of Google Docs, and we have Bard AI inside of Gmail. Now, I do have access to both of those. I am part of the Trusted Tester program. So if you want to look at those today, I'm allowed to show you that stuff. Inside Google Docs, we can now pull up the Help Me Write tool. It's Bard AI, and we can use that right inside of Google Docs to help us write or to revise things, and the same thing with Gmail. So we do have access to both of those. So those are some of the big heavy hitters, but then of course, don't forget about Canva. Canva has rolled out their magic everything, just like the text to image thing. They've got Magic Write, which is their AI assisted writing tool as well. So there you go. So those are the tools. Those are just lots and lots and lots of tools. And the nice thing about it is most of these I can show you tonight. These are not things that are coming. We've got them right now. And you can access most of these as well. Sometimes you got to sign up on a waiting list, and then you're able to get in and use them. What I'd like to do is start running through examples of doing this. Let's actually do these. Let's try some things out. And there's no particular order that we need to go. I've got some things I've already thought ahead of time that I'm going to start with my demonstrations for you. But what I'd really love for you guys to do is, now that you've seen all of this, let me know in the chat, what do you want to see? What do you want us to try out here tonight? Again, I'm going to do some already. I've got some planned that I'm going to run through just to show you the main idea. But now that you've seen the tools, I'm happy to open up any of these and actually go in and try them out. Okay, so what I'm going to start with is let's do some of the Chat GPT Bard sort of stuff. We'll begin with that, and I'm just going to demonstrate some things that as a teacher we might want to use it for to help us with. And I've tried to think of some things that might cross over into your subject area. So my prompts, if they're not good prompts, give me a better one. So, as I'm doing these, your content way better than I do. So if my prompts aren't good, you let me know. So let me go ahead and pull a few tabs over here. So here is my Chat GPT tab, and here is my Bard tab. Give me just a moment to bring this over. There we go. So here's Chat GPT, and here is Google Bard. Now, both of these, like I said, are available. You can go, and the links are in the agenda document. You can sign up for ChatGPT right now, and then Bard, there's a waiting list. If you go to the Bard website, you can say you want to join the waiting list. Heads up, you do need to use a personal Gmail account at the moment for Bard. At the moment, while it's in beta, it's not something for schools yet. It will be something that education can use, but not during the beta. So you can't use a school account. You'll have to use like a personal Gmail account to sign up for that. And then as needed, I've also got Bing Chat over here in my Edge browser. So there's Bing, and we can pull that up as needed as well. But let's just try some of these out. We'll jump back and forth between Bard and ChatGPT just so we can kind of see both of those. And let's say that I'm wanting to learn about a particular topic. So I could come here and I could say something like maybe generate a bullet point overview of Baroque music. Okay. Or let's say in the other one, we'll say in Bard, we'll say generate a bullet point overview of surrealism in art. Okay, so we'll go with those to start off with. And I'm just going to go ahead and ask ChatGPT, and then I'm going to ask Google Bard these questions. And so what's happening is it's pulling from all of the knowledge that it has out there to try to synthesize this. And I'll zoom in a little bit. If that's a little hard to see, I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can see it a little bit. And I'll do the same for Google as well. We'll make this a little bit larger so we can see it a little bit better. So let's see what it did. So with Baroque, boom, it's coming down and bullet point. It's giving me information, some key points about Baroque music. That's great. If I go into Bard, I'm getting some key things about surrealism, what it's about, some bullet point information about what who are some surrealistic artists and so forth. I'm assuming we probably got some, yes, we got some famous Baroque composers were listed as well. Now, differences. I love these both. They're both fantastic tools. And I would absolutely recommend using multiple tools. Like even if I brought up, Bing Chat, and I did the same thing. If I said, talk about surrealism, I asked them the same question. I think it's great to use all of these different tools because you're going to see maybe strengths in some versus others. And so that's great. So boom, here comes the Bing version of this where it's generating the surrealism. Now, one thing I do like about Bing, I love how it gives references. So notice how it's doing these little footnotes. It's letting you know where it's referencing that information from. And you can click on those to jump out to those websites. That's really slick. And I don't see that in a lot of the other ones. And I do like that a lot, how it gives you the references there. Now, one thing that's cool about Bard is it gives you more than one option. Instead of just the single answer I got here, in the top, there's a button that says View Other Drafts. If I click on View Other Drafts, that's going to give me typically 3, sometimes 2 versions of this. And you may find that one draft is better than the others. That's okay. I typically will click on these and look through to see if I'm getting an answer that fits better for what I'm looking for than the other. Now, the next cool thing about this is we can continue the conversation. Don't think that this is just a one and done thing. As long as we don't close out of this conversation, it remembers what we're talking about. So I could continue to go further here, and I could say something like, let's say I want to simplify this. So I say something like, define surrealism in words that a first grader would understand, So I could do that. And then I could pop over here and I could do the same thing with Baroque. I'll just have to replace surrealism with Baroque. We'll just put Baroque music in here in its place, define, or I could just say define that. I don't even have to say the word because it knows what I'm talking about here. But now, hopefully we're getting, surrealism is a type of art that tries to show you what happens in your dreams. It uses strange images and ideas to make you think about the world in a new way. Or we could jump into some of the other versions and see, which ones, make it sound like, surrealism is a type of art that looks like a dream. Sounds really good. Now over here, I'm getting a little bit of information on Baroque. It's a special kind of music from a long time ago. It sounds really fancy and has lots of different instruments playing at the same time. The music has a lot of patterns and decorations that make it sound beautiful. It's often played in big churches for important people. Okay. And then again, we can
Eric,
yeah, please go ahead.
You got some questions here. I know, yes, Audrey, people are using it to write papers. So yeah. And then you have a question about age specific. And then Kim has a question about, will it add pictures if you prompt, such as pictures of composers, instruments, and artwork?
So let's chat about a few of these things. So the first question, Audrey said, are students using this to write papers? So absolutely, one of the very first concerns that came out immediately was, what about students using this for plagiarism type purposes, having it write the paper for them? Yes, absolutely. This is without a doubt a concern, as it would be with any technology. I mean, it's just more powerful than it's ever been. I mean, I'm sure we had the same questions when calculators became common in school. Well, they're just going to use the calculator to do it. Well, this is just way more powerful. It's so much more powerful that it makes it even easier to do. So I do have a section in our agenda document. We may not have, and I'll pull it back up here. I think it's on my other tab. There it is. And we can definitely take time and chat more about this. But if you go down to near the bottom of the document, there's a whole section on here where I talk about addressing. this AI misuse? What do we need to do? Because guys, the genie's out of the bottle, okay? It's not going back in, even if schools say, for right now, we're going to block it, which I can understand folks saying until let's wait till next school year. Let's get some time to figure out what's going on here. Let's get some policies in place. Nothing's going to stop a student from just grabbing their phone and pulling it up on their phone. I can access Bard, ChatGPT. I can access them all on my phone as easily or easier than on the computer. So nothing's going to stop this from happening. The question is, what do we do about it? And I'm much more interested in saying, what are the positives? But we do need to talk about potential negatives. Yes, all of this up here, I consider this positive, 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 positive. These are all the cool ways we can use it. That's what I like to focus on, of course. But no, we do need to talk about this. So it's things like, of course, talking to our students about this, educating them on the idea of integrity and academic integrity and plagiarism, and developing their own skills, having very clear expectations. So there's no question about how much AI can you use? And it's not to say we can't use it at all. One of the suggestions is to create AI integrated assignments, teach them how to use it in ways that can help them to come alongside them. Maybe there's certain projects where you can use the AI to help you outline it, or you're allowed to use the AI when you're done to have it give you feedback. Maybe it's going to, read it, your writing, and give you feedback on your writing. So learning how to use it effectively. But it's other things like making sure we have good support for our students so they don't feel the need to have to go to the AI for that. Assigning diverse tasks that maybe aren't just writing a paper. Now there's other things. There's oral presentations, there's group projects, there's things that involve higher level critical thinking that they need to do. There's collaboration and peer review where students are working with each other. But then, yeah, we've also got to monitor the AI usage. We've got to check, is there work that seems suspiciously high quality or does not match their normal style? Or students are submitting very similar things. And then using detection tools. If it's a written thing, take advantage of version history. Google has version history built into all of the Google products. And basically, if you're not familiar with version history, I'll just open it up on this document here. It's not going to be very exciting because it's just me. This is just my document. But basically, version history shows you every single change ever made to a document and who made it and when they made it. So I can go back to April 3rd and I can say, okay, it looks like Eric made some changes on April 3rd. And I can go down and see every single change I made. I took this out and I moved it down here. And I can go through every single change, any date, any time. And the thing is, if somebody is actually doing this themselves, if they're writing, you're going to see this. You're not going to suddenly have 3 paragraphs appear at once in a document. You're going to see the gradual writing process, fixing things, correcting things, changing things, adding things. So that could be part of it. You say, well, okay, that's part of our new process is when you turn in a paper, it has to be written in Google Docs. And I will be looking at the version history. You can't say, well, I wrote it somewhere else and then put it in. We may say, no, that's just not, you have to do it in Docs now because I need to see the paper trail, the digital paper trail. Now, there are some tools that can help identify if something was written by AI. So there are tools like GPT-0, AI writing check, and so on. Having said that, these tools are never going to be 100% accurate because it's an arms race. It's a technological arms race. The AI gets better and the detectors get better, and the AI gets better and so forth. I would never encourage somebody to take a student's work, run it through an AI detector and say, the AI detector said this is AI written, you fail. I don't think we have the certainty to do something like that. But you could say, I took a suspicious document, I ran it through several of these, and a lot of them suggested this looks very AI written. Let's have a conversation. This could be the beginning of a healthy conversation to have with your students at that point. Beyond that, parents and guardians, we've got to make sure we're educating the parents and guardians on how AI can be used so they can be with us at home on this. And then, of course, we need to stay updated and informed all the time. So those are just some of my quick responses to your question. That's an excellent question. Those are some thoughts that I would mention about that. The question on will it add pictures if you prompt it to? So at the moment, no. If I am in Chat GPT, if I'm in Bard, if I'm in Bing Chat. At the moment, no, they are text generators. They are not creating images. The best they can do is like, tables and some formatting and stuff like that. To generate images, I'm going to go over to one of those other tools. So for example, if I were to pull up, for example, the Microsoft Bing, image creator, or if I were to pull up, let's see, if I were to pull up Dolly here, I should have Dolly. Where are you at, Dolly? Here we go. So here's Dolly too. These, yes, or Canva. If I were to pull up Canva, exactly, I can generate images from these. So I can type in my own here, or I can just go with their suggestion. They've got a suggestion here for me, an impressionist oil painting of sunflowers in a purple vase. So I could go with, I guess they were just suggesting that. They don't have it actually typed in. Okay, I'll just hit surprise me. A cat. No, let's do another surprise me. An astronaut lounging in a tropical resort. Nah. Let's get something a little bit more interesting there. A stained glass window depicting a robot? Sure, let's take a look at it. And so basically, though, I could type in whatever I want. I just went ahead and, with their pre-generated ones. And while that's doing its thing, that was pretty fast. And there we go. Okay, so we've got some images. And if I like some of these, I can use those to build off of as well. Now, in that case, these are more like art images. I've done some over here on the side. You can see where I did, I asked to do more like a photo thing. I said something like a bearded man in his 50s giving a keynote address at a technology conference, and so, it created those. I've got some, other ones down the side here that I've done in the past. But the same thing, if I go into Bing, same sort of thing. I can do a surprise me here as well. I don't know what it's going to do, but a neon living room from the future, Scandinavian design. Sure, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. And so it's going to now go ahead and do that. While it's doing that, I've got a few over here on the side. It looks like I did a pug in a suit. I'm not sure. Oh, there you go. And so here are my different designs that it has created there. If I come over to the here's the one with the pugs. I'm not sure what it was. Oh, a portrait of Theodore Roosevelt as a pug wearing a three-piece suit as a matte painting. And there we go. Excellent. Now, the question is, though, might that happen? Might we get to a point where we can do it all at once? The answer is yes, absolutely. They're calling that multimodal, and that is something that is absolutely coming. So with chat, take for instance, Chat GPT here. What I'm demonstrating to you right now is GPT 3.5. 4 is the most recent. I've access to 4 as well. We can jump over to 4 and we look at 4. 4 does support images. It's not, they haven't rolled out the multimedia portion of it yet, but they've demonstrated behind the scenes that if they turn that on, they can feed it images as well, and it can work with those. So yeah, we're going to be seeing more of a one-stop shop as we go here, that yes. But at this moment right now, no, you're going to go to different tools for different types of generations. Good stuff. Thanks so much for all these questions. All right. Well, let's see what else we could do besides what we just saw here. We'll chat a little bit more with our different AIs, but let's try something different than, for this first one, it was more informational. I just want to learn about surrealism, or I want to learn about Baroque music. Let's try a different approach here. How about this? I like this idea. What about having the AI be somebody that we're interviewing? So let's start a whole new chat here. And with chat, and we can jump up to Chat GPT 4. It's just a little bit slower, but it's the more powerful version. So we've got different versions. I'll jump to Chat GPT 4 and we'll see what it says. So for example, let's say that I want to say something like, okay, for this activity, you'll take on the role of Ludwig van Beethoven. I'll then ask you interview questions and you'll respond as this person. The purposes of the activity is let the student learn about the person in a conversational manner. My first question is, how did you learn your music skills? So basically I'm setting a prompt. You see, that's a really long prompt, Eric. No, that's okay. Prompt crafting, the more detailed your prompt, the better this is going to be, because you're really giving it the expectations. Be very specific. Let it know exactly what you're looking for. And so in this case, I'm going to have a conversation with Beethoven, and I'll go ahead and let it generate. And so now it is doing that. We'll jump over to Bard and let's do the same thing, but let's do a new chat over here and let's do Piet Mondrian. And so we're going to learn about the Dutch painter, Piet Mondrian. So over here, we've got Beethoven. And so we're talking to Beethoven. We're learning about how he learned about music and as he progressed on, and et cetera, et cetera. Now, what I love about this is I've done this with a lot of different characters. I've tried this out with a lot of different. Here we go again. Here we've got Piet Mondrian learning at the age of 14, took some drawing lessons from his uncle Fritz, and then he studied, in Amsterdam and continuing to go on. What's neat about this is rather than just like reading an article, it's really engaging because the student can now drive the conversation and ask all kinds of cool things. Like I might say something like, like I could say, how did your art change over your life? So over the period of Mondrian's life, it changed quite a bit, right? He went from more realistic to more cubist type things. So, we can see, how he had a very realistic style early on with landscapes, but over time it became more abstract. And again, we got different, if we want to do different drafts of this so we can see which one we prefer. But that's great. Same thing here. I could pop over and ask Beethoven the same thing, but of course I would say music. I want to learn more about how his music changed over his life. But then we could ask questions like, what lasting impact, has this had, so I could come over to Bard and be like, so Mondrian, how has your art impacted the world? And then we could pop back over here and, oh, good, excellent. We're getting a really nice breakdown here of Beethoven's different times of his life and how his music, evolved over those different times in his life. Excellent. And then we'll give him the same question, but we'll change it from art to music. And then we'll see, it looks like, here's Mondrian. Yes. And so Mondrian's telling us all the different ways that his art influenced the world. I imagine we're probably going to see architecture and design. Yep, absolutely. Coca-Cola, IBM, the Seagram building. We're seeing different ways in which it impacted the world. And of course, now we'll get the same thing from Beethoven as well. So I love the engagement that comes from this. It's so much more interesting. I did this with one of them I tried out. I said, say you're a 20-year-old male from a Iroquois tribe in 1650 living in upstate New York. And I just had a conversation with this Native American, because that was a time in history when the French and the Dutch were really starting to get into conflict with the Native Americans in that area. It was fascinating to just talk to this Native American and hear all about history in such a personal manner. And so, I really enjoyed that. So that's something you could do. Now, at the same time, we could use this for assessment. Let's say we want to generate some questions for our students. So we'll jump over to Bard, we'll reset this. Let's say we want some questions at different DOK levels, our depth of knowledge levels. And I may say, okay, we're learning about impressionistic art or impressionism art, and I want to get some different levels of questions. So I could say, give me some DOK level 1 questions, about that. And now it's going to generate those. And of course, these are going to be more of just factual, knowledge, no in-depth an analysis, what is it, who are some famous people. But then we could start ramping it up. We could say, how about some level 2 questions? And again, it's just going to continue to ramp this up. We're going to get a little bit more of analyzing. We're comparing some things now. We're starting to identify some misconceptions. Then we ramp it up to, I need some DOK level 3 questions. And you get the point. We're just going to keep on going. And as we go, it's going to start moving more toward synthesizing and evaluating and analyzing as we go here. And then finally, we'll get all the way up to a DOK level 4 question. And so if we're trying to create this variety, this is great. We can have an assignment that we're hitting the different levels. We're getting just some nice knowledge level questions, and we're getting up to some much more deep thinking questions that we can now pull from. It's not that we're going to use every one of these, but we're going to grab from these. They're going to help, inspire us with what we do. And speaking of inspiration, maybe it's just making a lesson plan. Maybe you're wanting to design a lesson plan here. So let's say we come over and I don't know, I have too many art ones here. I apologize. Again, if you guys want to give me a better, no, this is another art one here, but let's say it's middle school art and we're learning about pointillism. And I want a lesson that's got both hands-on, non-tech, and some tech integrated activities in it. So I could throw that out, and it's going to start generating that lesson plan for me, the materials I'm going to need, the time that I want to spend on each of these different, parts, the hands-on activity, the tech enhanced part of it. And there we go. I've got at least some ideas. Now, I may not use this exactly as it is, but it's a starting point. And then I can go ahead and, build from that. All right. So let's pause there. I see some activity in the chat. Tony said, how do you see the role of the teacher changing due to the evolution of AI? So Tony, that's a really good question. My philosophy on this is that it's what I call the bionic educator model. I see it as us working with the AI, that it becomes our teaching assistant. I actually do a whole keynote address on the bionic educator. That's what I call it. And the idea is that the best teacher in the world is a teacher who knows to use every resource we can. We don't try to do it all by ourselves. Well, this is just one more resource that can augment us. And so I see it as a teacher using the technology to make us better, to take some of the weight off of us so that we can have more time to interact individually with students one-on-one and do what we do best with them. So I would see it as a co-teacher, or as I said, being a bionic educator, having the technology right alongside you the whole time. So maybe the AI is evaluating. Maybe it's the first pass. Maybe the students turn in their writing and the AI evaluates all of them. And then you're the second pass. It's the first pass. And now you're using that as a way to first get the initial evaluation of it. But now you're going in and, you're not maybe spending as much time. You're able to focus in more surgically on the things that you need to look at in those. Or it's the student having a conversation with the AI while you're in a smaller group working with some students who need to be pulled aside that you're working with on there. So it's having a co-teacher in the classroom with you. The phrase that I also like to think about is people say, they're worried that AI is going to take your job. No, that's not what you should be worried about. It's AI will not take your job. The person who knows how to use AI will. That's what's going to happen, is that it's who knows how to leverage it. If something like that were to happen, it's not that the AI is going to replace us. It's we now need to learn how to make the best use of this tool. That's how we become better educators and our students become better learners. So that's my philosophy on that. What it looks like in the real world, we're still figuring all of that out. But if I go in with that mindset, I think that's going to get us in the direction we need to go. Sandra says she worries about this will blur the lines between reality and the virtual world, especially for elementary students. Many have a hard time separating themselves from their video game worlds. Now, if it will write lesson plans for the I'm okay. Well, yeah, and I mean, I understand what you're saying, that this is new to us, so we've got contrast. We can kind of compare this to what we've seen before. We've got students who are going to grow up in a world where this is just normal. And so they may not have something to contrast it with. And so, yeah, I think we should not take for granted that our students are just going to understand how all of this works. And so back when we were talking a few moments ago about what we can do to help our students with this, part of it is educating our students, helping them understand that just because an AI said it doesn't mean it's true. It can still make mistakes, or it could be biased. And that's something that they're really working hard against, because it has to be trained from some information. Years ago, oh my gosh, years ago, I remember Microsoft's early attempt at this. They had an AI that they trained on basically the internet. They let it read internet articles and chats and things like that. And within 24 hours, it became very inappropriate, let's just say, the things it was saying and the things it was doing, because it was getting biased by what it was exposed to. And so, yes, we do need to make sure that this is something that we don't just assume, oh, they're kids, they're so good with technology. Well, maybe they know how to push the buttons, but we need to make sure we're educating them on still the skills will never go away of evaluating and validating and thinking critically about the information. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Let's see, what else can we check? Oh, let's do this. Let me give you one more pass through a couple of things that we haven't mentioned yet. And then I'm going to leave it up to you guys to let me know what you would like to look at. Like I said, we can circle back and we can go into any of these tools. Like I said, I've got access to most of these tools. I'm happy to pull them up and we can try them out. But let's do this. I've got this whole section on uses for AI in education. We've hit a bunch of them, but let me just go through a few slides. And if there's one of these that you're like, I want to see that, let me know. Heads up, I've got links for almost all of these. So as I go through these, if you're like, I'd like to see how that turned out, please notice in the agenda, next to almost all of these, it says example. This will take you out to documents where I made a copy of my conversation with the AI, and you can go through and you can read word for word how that conversation went. So later on, you can look into these in much more detail. But for example, things that we could do, talk about reading. We can feed the AI an article or a story or just reference, information, and it can determine the reading level. It can rewrite text at lower reading levels, at higher reading levels. We can differentiate text to meet the needs of the students. We can summarize text. We can create comprehension questions from the text. We can make a bullet point summary of key things. We can identify potentially difficult words and give students, here's 10 words and definitions. Before you read this, here's the ones that you may want to be taking a look at here. We can have it write text in different styles. I will pull up this one just because I think it's a good example of this. I asked it, I said, could you rewrite the famous "to be or not to be" Hamlet speech for a fifth grade student? Let's keep the content the same. Don't change the content, but let's rephrase it so the words are more modern, simple, and easier to understand. And here it goes, to be or not to be, that is the question. Should I keep living or should I stop? Is it better to put up with the troubles in life or fight against them and end them all at once? To sleep, that's like dying, but without the pain, and it's just, what a neat way to be able to take something and rewrite it. It could be a different style, a different, a different way of expressing it that helps the student understand. We can use the AI to create stories. We can specify, I want this character, this item, this event, this whatever, and it can write a story at whatever reading level that we need. And when it comes to writing, generating writing prompts, so much inspiration, writing prompts for stories, essays, articles, generating story elements, names, places, items, generating images, using things like Canva or DALL-E or Imagen or Bing's Image Create, generating main ideas to explore, creating model writing to show students different levels of, this is a level 1, this is a level 4, so they can see exemplars of what to look at. Having conversations, like we said, debating an AI on a topic, having it evaluate student writing and providing feedback on their writing, generating code. If you say, I'm not a coder, you don't have to be. You just need an idea. Explain to the AI what you want that program to do or that widget to do, and it can generate the code that you can just paste right into your Google Sites website and have an interactive activity. A personal tutor to explain topics at any level, to ask you questions, to have the AI quiz the student, ask them questions, and they respond and get graded on that. YouTube, grab the transcript from a YouTube video and feed it through to create a study guide. So while the student's watching the video, they've got a pre-made study guide that they can fill out as they go through watching the video. And assisting you with tasks, writing your emails, making lesson plans, creating rubrics, assessments. And I'm not saying it creates it and you use it as it is, but it creates it and it gives you a starting point. It gives you something to begin from, or you give it what you've created and you get some feedback from it. Again, it's an assistant to come alongside us and help out. Okay, so with the couple minutes we have left, I would love to answer questions. I'd love, if you guys have a prompt that you want me to type into one of these, give me a prompt. We can see what it does. Or if you want me to fire up one of the tools and try something out. So let's give you guys a moment here to reflect and let me know what else you may want to investigate in the time that we have. While we're doing that, just as a reminder, all of this stuff is at bit.ly/Curts-AI. So in the future, if you need to get back to this, that will get you back there. Okay, Tony said, using the musical elements, analyze Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Sure, again, I'm not a music person, so I apologize. My questions may not have been very good. I will go ahead and we'll throw this in and we'll just see what it has to say here. Now, this is GPT 3.5. We could run it through 4 as well. It's going through the different movements here, and it looks like it is explaining and again, this is way beyond my musical knowledge, and so I don't even know if this is correct or not, but it's talking about how the first movement is in sonata form, the second movement is slow tempo, third movement is a scherzo, I'm sorry, fourth is sonata characterized by et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now that's 3.5. We can see if 4 has a different opinion on that. I don't know. It's a little slower on 4, and we can also ask Bard about this as well and see if Bard has a particular opinion on that. 4 is a little slower because it's pulling from so much more data. 4 is it's so much more powerful than 3.5, but it does take more time. So it's a lot slower. So you can see that it's not popping up as quick as the other one did. But here's Bard, and Bard is going through this. Oh, it looks like we have to look at the different drafts. Doesn't seem to be taking it piece by piece. Looks like it's breaking down the different characteristics of it, and that's cool. And again, it's just neat to see, how different ones do that. Well, this is really cool. I mean, this is nice. They've got the motivic development. It's talking about the short, long, or dumb usage, and it's pretty. I don't know. I could learn a lot from this. so there you go. Very, very good. All right, excellent. Love it, guys. Anything else? Looks like Jamie shared something. That's I don't know if I can open that up. That's an Apple format. That's HEIC,
okay, so what I did is, which was kind of crazy because this week I've been trying to write a script for my spring concert, and so I asked, I guess it's Bing, to write a script to introduce a song, and it wrote it all out for me, and I'm like,
lovely.
Oh my gosh. So that was just a picture of it because I didn't know how to add that.
No, you're totally fine. Yeah, no, you're fine. But that's great. See, and there you go. Simple things like that. And I've done the same thing. I find myself going, I should just run that through there because it's going to be able to give me the structure of what I might need. And that's really awesome. And like I said, you can now do this sort of stuff, like I said, in Docs. So like if I pull, and I know I didn't even show you this, but if you go to Google Docs, well, you won't yet, but it's coming out. I've got the help me write feature inside of Google Docs. So I can come in here and I can, ask it things, right in here, and it's going to create it right inside of my document as well without having to go to ChatGPT or Bard and then copy it over. I can just do it while I'm working on it. So what was the song you were doing? So if I could say like, write a intro, what were you doing? You're saying like write an introduction?
Yes, for the song Rock and Roll is Here to Stay.
For the song Rock and Roll is Here to Stay for an upcoming concert performance. So like I could do this inside of my document. Now I can still go out to Bard, I can go out to ChatGPT, but here we go. So if I like this, I can just hit insert and it's going to drop that right in. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the concert. Rock and roll was born in the 1950s and this and that, and it's been around for all this time. Tonight we're going to be playing some of the greatest things, and so on. Now, if I like that, great. If I want to refine it, I can say formalize it, shorten it, elaborate it, rephrase it, and it can adjust even more for me in there as well. So what's nice is we won't have to jump back and forth so much. We're going to see these being way more integrated into all the tools that we use without having to jump around as well. Love it. Well, I know I want to be sensitive to everybody's time, and I know we are getting really, I just lost my entire screen there. There it is. I know we're getting really close to the end of our time here. So first of all, I just want to thank you so much for letting me hang out with you here tonight. It's always a pleasure, but it was an absolute pleasure hanging out with you guys tonight, talking about this topic. I'm going to turn it back over to Jim for any closing remarks that you guys have as well.
Thank you, Eric. And again, I started utilizing these tools around Christmas and just testing the waters to see, what it could do, what the tools could do. And we absolutely thought that you all need to share. And of course, Eric is again one of our KUDC Grants family, and he's an expert in what he does. So phenomenal session. And yes, it's fascinating, and everybody's shaking their head. And absolutely, when I started utilizing the tools at Christmas, I thought, is this real? But it's, again, it's about utilizing it as a tool, and of course, ethical use with kids in the classroom and things like that. But it's absolutely a way that I think it will serve you all personally and professionally, and maybe save you some time. Sandy was asking about lesson plans, but it's here. And, we just want to make sure you all are aware of the changes that are coming, and it's out there. So we spent last year at KUDC, we had a 6-month education accelerator with MindSpark Learning here with about 7 districts, and it was all around computer science and AI, and all this was part of that. So, but again, we want to keep you all in the know. As I said, Wendy plans just the very best programming and the very best speakers for each cadre. So I'm going to put the evaluation in the chat, make sure that works. And if not, I've got another link. And if you have any questions, I'm willing to stay on as long as necessary, as always. And Eric, if you've got questions for him, again, thank you so much. Amazing work. And this is, again, a fascinating tool for sure. Tools, I should say, not just tool, but